Far beneath the surface of a calm blue ocean, two stingrays glide peacefully through the clear water while a small school of fish rushes past them. Below, colorful coral and jagged rocks cover the ocean floor. Nearby, a crab quietly approaches a starfish, hoping to make an easy meal. But before it can act, another crab arrives and immediately challenges it for the territory. The two crabs begin fighting, until a sudden movement from above scares them both into stopping. Something is slowly rising from the depths. A young, red-haired sea creature floats gracefully through the water. She moves without a sound, scanning the ocean floor until something catches her attention. Between two large rocks, she discovers a narrow crevice. She swims closer and carefully examines the hidden space. After thinking for a moment, a gentle smile appears on her face. She has found the perfect place. 10 days pass. The ocean remains peaceful, and tiny fish continue swimming around the same rocky crevice. But inside that hidden shelter, something extraordinary is happening. A large collection of transparent, glowing eggs rests along the ocean floor. Tiny bubbles rise from them as the lives developing inside slowly grow. The red-haired mother stays beside the clutch, carefully watching over every egg. Then, suddenly, danger approaches. Two sharp-toothed predator fish appear near the entrance of the crevice. They stare directly at the eggs, making their intentions obvious. The mother immediately becomes defensive. She positions herself between the predators and her unborn offspring, warning the intruders to leave. The two fish eventually retreat, but the mother is left exhausted. And then her stomach growls. She is starving. Just below her, a sea centipede crawls across the sand. For a moment, the hungry mother can practically taste the meal. But before she can chase it, she notices the predator fish still lurking nearby. Her eyes immediately return to the eggs. She knows she cannot leave them alone. The sea centipede disappears into the distance, taking away the meal she desperately needed. Even so, the mother turns back toward her clutch and forces a warm smile. 30 days pass. The eggs continue developing, and the mother remains beside them without leaving. As she watches the tiny lives growing inside, she realizes something that weighs heavily on her heart. The beginning of their lives may be connected to the end of hers. Then, a memory returns. She remembers a special male creature from her past, the one who once held her gently beneath the water. In that memory, he promised that his breath, his life, and everything he had belonged to her. Back in the present, the mother gently places her hand against the eggs. She rests her face against the long row of them, filled with affection for the children she has never even held. But deep down, she believes the male she loved is probably already gone. The ocean falls silent again. 60 days pass. The mother continues guarding the clutch, but her body is beginning to fail. Her eyes slowly open, revealing a creature barely holding herself together. She has become weak and pale, yet she still reaches toward the eggs. She is worried about what will happen to her little ones if she is no longer there. Then, for just a moment, she releases a few of the eggs from her protection. That small opening is enough. A tiny orange fish swims by and immediately swallows the abandoned eggs. The mother watches in complete shock. Her expression falls as she realizes that even inside this protected nest, not every child will survive. Another 40 days pass. 100 days have now gone by. Inside the transparent eggs, the babies have grown much larger. But their mother is almost completely exhausted. She struggles to remain awake beside them, occasionally drifting into sleep before suddenly jolting awake at every unfamiliar sound. Each time, the first thing she does is check the eggs. Only after making sure they are safe does she allow herself to relax again. Eventually, even sitting upright becomes difficult. Her head begins to fall as exhaustion overwhelms her. She wonders how much longer she can continue. Then her eyes suddenly widen. Something enormous is approaching. A massive dark creature glides through the water toward the crevice. The mother immediately understands that she cannot fight it in her current condition. She closes her eyes and silently hopes the predator will simply pass by. The creature reaches the entrance. Then the darkness reveals itself. A gigantic moray eel enters the crevice, its enormous jaws filled with razor-sharp teeth. For one brief moment, the eel moves away. The mother breathes again, but the relief lasts only seconds. The moray eel suddenly turns and charges straight toward her. The mother freezes. The predator closes the distance until its enormous face is directly in front of her. She can barely move. Then the eel opens its jaws. It lunges. The mother desperately tries to protect herself and the clutch, but the predator's attack is overwhelming. A brilliant flash suddenly erupts beneath the water. Then everything becomes still. The darkness returns. 150 days have now passed. Inside the eggs, the babies are fully formed. One little male finally opens his eyes. For the first time, he looks out at the strange world surrounding him. Outside the egg, his mother sits motionless. Her once red hair has turned completely white from exhaustion. The little one stares at her, unable to understand why she looks so weak. Slowly, the mother opens one tired purple eye. She looks at her children. Despite everything her body has endured, her expression is filled with love. The little boy smiles. He presses his tiny hands against the transparent wall of the egg, trying to reach his mother. She responds by slowly lifting her own hand. Their hands meet through the thin membrane. The baby presses his face against her palm. For the first time in a long while, the exhausted mother smiles with genuine happiness. Then pain overwhelms her. A weak groan escapes as the last of her strength begins disappearing. She leans against the rocks, barely able to remain upright. 30 more days pass. 180 days have now passed since the eggs were first laid. One of the little creatures begins kicking against the inside of his egg. Again and again, he pushes against the shell. Eventually, cracks spread across it. The shell breaks. The little boy emerges into the ocean for the very first time. He swims freely, filled with excitement as he explores the world around him. Then his bright eyes settle on the creature resting silently inside the crevice. His mother. The white-haired mother watches him from the bottom of the rocky shelter. She already knows the cruel truth of the ocean. Most of her little ones will disappear into the vast sea before they ever get the chance to grow. Only a few will survive long enough to continue the cycle of life. Still, she wishes every one of them could thrive. With the last bit of consciousness she has left, the mother sends her love and blessings toward her children. Then she finally stops moving. The brave mother has found her eternal rest in the cold depths. Around her, life continues. A new generation of tiny sea creatures begins spreading through the ocean. Countless bubbles rise toward the surface as the next chapter of their lives begins. The red-haired baby looks around at the enormous blue world surrounding him. Before leaving, he turns back toward the rocky crevice where his mother rests. Then a large fish suddenly appears, startling the little creature. He quickly swims upward. The sheltered nest that protected him for so long is now behind him. Following the bright beam of sunlight filtering down from above, the young sea creature swims faster and faster toward the unknown. Behind him, the old crevice becomes silent once again, as the octopus mother finally lays to rest. Since no human eyes exist to witness the secrets of this underwater world, the creatures themselves become the eyes through which this story unfolds. Tiny animals drift happily through the currents, while schools of fish continue their daily struggle for survival. Near the surface, sunlight floods the ocean. Seagulls circle above the calm water, while distant mountains rise along the horizon. Far away, the scenery changes completely. A majestic valley stretches beneath a clear sky, with a river flowing through lush green forests from the snow-covered mountains above. Inside that river, fish fight against the powerful current. Then, something suddenly moves along the riverbank. He catches a fish with incredible speed and immediately tears into it, devouring the raw prey with the hunger of a true predator. But halfway through his meal, he stops. A massive grizzly bear steps into the water. The bear fixes its eyes on the strange gray-haired creature standing in its territory and releases a terrifying roar. But the gray-haired predator does not flinch. Instead, he simply gives the bear a confident grin. Then more growls begin echoing from the surrounding shadows. The grizzly finally realizes the truth. It is not facing a lone predator. An entire pack of wolves is surrounding the river, and every one of them is obeying the gray-haired creature. His name is Quetta. He is a wild wolf commanding the pack. The entire forest belongs to him. A little farther away, an elk peacefully drinks from a small forest pond. The quiet animal has no idea that a young wolf is watching from the nearby bushes. Suddenly, the silence breaks. Quetta bursts from the bushes with his claws ready, charging straight toward the elk. The young wolf expects to catch his prey quickly, but the elk reacts at the last second and dodges. The elk immediately takes off across the field. Quetta lifts his dirt-covered face and takes off after the fleeing elk. He pushes himself as hard as he can until he finally closes the distance. This time, Quetta grabs the elk's hind leg. For a moment, the young wolf thinks he has finally secured his meal. But the elk refuses to stop. The powerful animal keeps running, dragging Quetta face first through the dirt. Quetta quickly realizes that this elk is far stronger than he expected. All he can do is hold on. Then the elk suddenly kicks backward with tremendous force. Quetta is sent flying through the air before crashing onto the grass. He groans and struggles back to his feet. The hungry wolf explains that he has not eaten anything for 3 days and begs the elk to cooperate just this once and become his meal. He promises that if the elk lets him catch it today, he will never chase it again. The elk obviously has no interest in making that deal. The young wolf continues the chase, insisting that running into the mountains or crossing the river will not save the elk. He swears that he will hunt it all the way to the ends of the earth. But the elk has had enough. It suddenly kicks the young wolf directly in the forehead. The poor wolf is sent flying upside down before crashing onto the ground. The bearded elk looks back at the young wolf and mocks him for being an inexperienced young wolf who has clearly wandered into a hunt far beyond his abilities. Quetta is furious at the insult. The elk points at Quetta and tells him to get lost, saying he would rather pass out from hunger than allow himself to be caught by a skinny wolf like him. Quetta immediately takes offense. The elk ignores his anger and asks whether the young wolf really wants to fight. Then the bearded elk proudly declares that he is the king of the elk in this region. He looks at Quetta like he is nothing more than a lost pup fresh out of the nest. Then the elk reveals something even more important. Quetta has wandered into territory controlled by a powerful wolf named Morocco. The young wolf has no idea what he has stepped into. The bearded elk laughs at Quetta's confused expression and explains that Morocco's pack rules this entire forest. Any stray wolf that crosses their territory without permission is treated as an intruder. The elk then tells Quetta about another lone wolf who made the mistake of entering their territory only a few days earlier. Morocco's pack found that wolf almost immediately. The lone wolf never escaped. The elk explains that the pack hunted the intruder down and tore the wolf apart, leaving nothing but a ruined body behind. Then the bearded elk laughs at Quetta and bets that the young wolf will not survive even 3 days if he enters Morocco's territory. Quetta refuses to be intimidated. He declares that he is not afraid of any pack because he is the strongest lone wolf in the region. Then he proudly points toward himself. His name is Quetta, and he declares that he will be the wolf who eventually hunts down this arrogant elk. An awkward silence follows. The two animals simply stare at each other. The elk eventually scoffs at Quetta and mocks the fate waiting for him before running away. Quetta is furious. He grinds his teeth and swears that one day he will get revenge on the arrogant elk. But his tough attitude quickly disappears when his stomach growls. Quetta is starving. The young wolf eventually collapses face first onto the dirt and begins whining from hunger. He regrets not being born as a plant-eating elk. At least then, he would not have to struggle this much just to find food. Quetta starts worrying that he might actually starve before he ever finds Morocco's pack. Then something catches his attention. He lifts his head and sniffs the air. Fresh blood. The scent immediately excites the starving wolf. For Quetta, that smell can only mean one thing: food. But before he can follow the scent, a young female wolf suddenly sprints past him. She stops and looks back, realizing she almost ran straight over the wolf lying on the ground. Quetta freezes and stares at her. The young female introduces herself as Yen, a lone wolf who simply follows the wind. She explains that she is only passing through and has no intention of invading Quetta's territory. Then Yen starts to leave. Quetta quickly tells her that he is also a lone wolf named Quetta. Then she suddenly becomes annoyed. Yen grabs Quetta by the collar of his jacket and scolds him for nearly scaring her out of her mind. She decides that it is better for them to go their separate ways. The two lone wolves start walking. They are heading in exactly the same direction. Yen stops and looks suspiciously at Quetta, wondering why he is following her. Quetta insists that he was already going that way. Yen remains suspicious. Then she realizes that Quetta has caught the same scent she has. Quetta also notices that Yen is following the same trail. Neither wolf wants to admit it, but both are interested in whatever lies ahead. They begin walking side by side. Then they start walking faster. What began as two wolves going their separate ways quickly becomes a competition. Both sniff the air at the same time. The scent grows stronger. Bones, fresh blood. Eventually, they find the source. An animal carcass lies ahead, surrounded by coyotes and birds of prey. Quetta and Yen immediately charge toward it. Their sudden arrival scares all the feeding animals away. But their excitement disappears almost instantly. The carcass has already been picked clean. Only bones remain. Quetta stares at the remains in disappointment. Yen refuses to give up. She shoves Quetta aside and claims that all the remaining food belongs to her. The starving female wolf begins licking the bones, desperately trying to get whatever marrow remains inside. Quetta refuses to lose the only food he has found. He grabs Yen by the hair and pulls her away. Then he throws her onto the ground and warns her that he is taking the marrow. Yen responds immediately. She bites down hard on Quetta. Quetta cries out in pain. The young wolf becomes furious and calls her crazy while trying to escape her bite. Yen refuses to let go. Quetta finally manages to overpower her and tackles the female wolf onto the grass. He pins her down and challenges her to a real fight. Yen growls back that she has not eaten in 5 days. Quetta suddenly pauses. 5 days. He looks into Yen's eyes and recognizes something familiar. The sight triggers a painful memory inside Quetta. He remembers the day his former wolf pack was attacked by a group of black wolves. One female wolf from his old pack was cornered and violently attacked. Another young female wolf desperately called for her mother while the black wolves dragged her away. Quetta could only watch. He was frozen by fear, terrified that he would lose his own life if he stayed. One of the female wolves reached toward him while being overwhelmed by the attackers. She desperately called Quetta's name and begged him to save her. Her tear-filled face, covered in blood, became permanently burned into Quetta's memory. That massacre still haunts the young wolf. But Yen's angry voice suddenly brings Quetta back to reality. She demands that he let her go. Taking advantage of his distraction, Yen bites down hard. His eyes widen in surprise. Yen wipes the blood from her mouth and reminds Quetta that if he has been starving for 3 days, then she has been starving for 5. She is not backing down. Quetta becomes furious again. He asks if Yen is really trying to get herself killed right there. He moves toward her and threatens to scratch her face with his claws. The two starving wolves continue wrestling across the ground. Neither one is willing to surrender the last scraps of food. But while they are busy fighting, a little coyote quietly emerges from behind the bushes. The clever scavenger watches the two wolves rolling around in the dirt. Seeing an opportunity, the coyote slowly approaches the carcass. Then he bites into one of the remaining bones and pulls it free. The little coyote happily walks away with his prize, but after only a few steps he suddenly freezes. Something terrifying is approaching. He immediately drops the bone. Quetta and Yen stop fighting at the same time. They can feel it too. Something dangerous has arrived. Yen's expression changes completely as cold sweat runs down her face. A group of intimidating wolves lands heavily in front of the two young wolves. There is no easy escape. At the front stands a massive bald wolf with wide eyes and a scar on his head. His name is Morocco. Beside him stands a cruel-looking female wolf named Tasha. They are leading the group of wolves that has surrounded Quetta and Yen. Yen immediately recognizes them. These are Morocco's wolves. Quetta tries to force a nervous smile and asks whether he can help them with something. Morocco ignores Quetta's attempt to talk. He orders the wolves in his pack to capture the two intruders and wipe them out. The pack charges. Quetta immediately tells Yen to run. The two young wolves turn and sprint away. Behind them, Morocco's entire pack gives chase. The two lone wolves look tiny compared to the group hunting them through the valley. Morocco leads the pursuit, making it clear that neither intruder will escape alive. Quetta quickly begins running out of breath. Then he spots something ahead, a large lake. He realizes that Morocco's wolves might not follow them into the water. He tells Yen that they have to make it to the water and urges her to hold on a little longer. Yen is already at her physical limit. Her breathing is heavy and every step is becoming harder. Quetta continues urging her forward as Morocco's wolves close the distance. Then it happens. A massive hand reaches forward from behind Yen. Morocco grabs the young wolf by her hair. He violently slams Yen into the ground. Yen cries out in pain. Tasha approaches with a cruel laugh and orders the pack to tear the two intruders apart. Quetta looks back in horror. He knows that if all of Morocco's wolves attack at once, neither he nor Yen will survive. Morocco opens his enormous jaws and prepares to deliver the fatal bite. Yen looks toward Quetta. She desperately begs him for help, but fear takes over. Quetta thinks about his own survival. He cannot let his journey end here, so he turns around and runs. He abandons Yen. The young female wolf watches him leave with tears in her eyes. She quietly accepts that this may be the end, but the sight of Yen's tears triggers something inside Quetta. He remembers the companion he once left behind during the massacre of his old pack. The same pain returns, the same regret, the same feeling of being a coward. He cannot abandon another wolf the same way. Morocco opens his massive jaws, ready to finish Yen. Then something suddenly crashes into his face. Quetta has returned. At the last possible moment, the young wolf changes his mind and launches himself toward Morocco. This time, he refuses to run away. Quetta grabs the giant wolf and forces him to the ground and shouts for Yen to run. Yen hesitates. She makes her decision and starts running again, tears filling her eyes as she disappears into the distance. Behind her, Quetta continues fighting. But Morocco is far too powerful. The massive wolf manages to turn the situation around and pins Quetta against the ground. With a grim smile, Morocco warns the young wolf that he is about to tear him apart. Morocco mocks his resistance, telling him that fighting back is pointless. No intruder leaves his territory alive, and Yen will not get far either. Quetta manages to grab Morocco by the neck and warns him that if this is where his journey ends, then Morocco is going down with him. But before Quetta can do anything else, he senses danger above. The rest of Morocco's pack is leaping toward him. They are coming in for the final attack. Tasha leads the charge, diving toward the exhausted wolf with her claws ready. Far away, Yen continues running. Yen realizes that if the pack catches them, neither wolf will survive. But as Yen reaches the edge of the lake, something strange catches her attention. A bizarre scent rises from the water. She stops. The sky above has become dark and threatening, and the surface of the lake has turned rough beneath the changing weather. She has realized something. A possible way out. Back in the forest, Quetta is being overwhelmed by Morocco's pack. The wolves drag him across the ground as he desperately struggles to fight back. Then Tasha bites down hard on his shoulder. Quetta releases a howl of agony. The rest of the pack surrounds him, celebrating the lone wolf's apparent defeat as they prepare to finish him. Quetta lies on the ground, battered and covered in blood. His body has finally reached its limit. After everything he has been through, it seems his journey is about to end here, alone and far from anywhere he can call home. Then a voice suddenly echoes through the valley. Quetta's eyes snap open. Yen is shouting at him. She tells him not to give up because the fight is not over yet. She is running straight back toward them. Quetta is horrified. He shouts for Yen to stay away and calls her crazy for coming back. Yen ignores him. She builds up speed and launches herself directly toward Morocco's pack. She tells him that they can still make it through this. Quetta has no idea what she is talking about. The wolves surrounding them immediately charge. The pack swarms over the two young wolves. Quetta realizes in panic that they are about to be overwhelmed. Then, in the middle of the attack, Yen tells Quetta to hold on. Help is coming. Quetta does not understand. Yen closes her eyes and uses the last of her strength to silently hope that it arrives in time. Quetta lies on his back and looks toward the sky. Hail begins falling from the sky. The storm quickly becomes violent. Huge hailstones slam into the forest, striking the ground with tremendous force and scattering the wolves. The chunks of ice are so large that several members of Morocco's pack are knocked unconscious as they try to attack. Yen looks toward him with determination. She tells him that this is their chance. Quetta does not waste another second. He gets back on his feet and tells Yen to run. The two wolves sprint away through the violent storm. Even after being struck by the hail, some members of Morocco's pack continue pursuing them. Quetta and Yen race toward the edge of the cliff overlooking the enormous lake. There is nowhere else to go. They jump. The two young wolves plunge into the rough water below. The wolves chasing them stop at the edge of the lake. Quetta and Yen continue swimming side by side beneath the heavy rain and hail. They look back. Morocco and Tasha remain at the shoreline with the rest of the pack. There is nothing they can do. The two intruders have escaped. Quetta and Yen keep swimming as far away from Morocco's territory as possible. Then Yen asks the question that has been bothering her. Why did Quetta come back for her? Quetta admits that he had his reasons. The two wolves had already come so close to reaching their goal, and he simply could not continue alone. Yen praises Quetta for standing against Morocco. Then Quetta thanks Yen for helping him escape. Yen begins talking about her past. She reveals that she has spent her entire life running away on her own. She remembers the day her entire family lost their lives right in front of her. At the time, Yen had no choice but to run. If she had stayed, she would have died with them. But ever since that day, one question has remained in her mind. What would have happened if she had stayed and fought? What if she had found just a little more courage? Maybe they could have survived together. Yen looks at Quetta and then smiles. She suggests that the two of them seem to get along surprisingly well. Maybe they should keep traveling together. Quetta repeats the idea silently in his mind. Traveling together. The suggestion catches him completely off guard. Then he remembers his old life. Before his former pack was attacked, Quetta had a family. He had a home. He remembers the days when everyone was together and there was nothing to fear. Those memories make him realize something. Perhaps things would be different if he had someone he could truly trust beside him. Quetta knows that he is strong. Yen is clever. Together, traveling should be much easier than surviving alone. Even hunting for food could become easier for both of them. With a genuine smile, Quetta asks Yen what she thinks about continuing their journey together. He looks around. Yen is gone. The young wolf suddenly realizes that he is completely alone in the middle of the lake. Panic takes over. Quetta starts calling Yen's name, asking where she went. He shouts for her again. Still nothing. The scene shifts to the shoreline. A small, curious otter watches the surroundings from the riverbank. Nearby, Quetta lies unconscious on the wet sand. The young wolf sits silently at the edge of the lake, staring across the enormous stretch of water. He slowly gets to his feet and begins walking along the sandy shoreline. He is searching for any sign of Yen. Quetta lowers himself toward the ground and examines the sand carefully. There are no footprints, no clear scent trail, nothing. He slowly turns toward the horizon. A terrible thought enters his mind. Yen may have drowned while crossing the lake. He lowers his head. The same nightmare seems to be happening all over again. Once again, everyone around him is gone. Once again, Quetta is the only survivor. Then something catches his eye. A strange line of marks runs across the sand. They look like tracks, wolf tracks. Then he catches a familiar scent. Yen. Quetta follows the trail, carefully sniffing the ground as he moves deeper into the forest. But something feels wrong. Yen's scent is mixed with another scent, an unfamiliar male. Then Quetta detects something else. Fresh blood. Quetta immediately starts running. He wonders whether old enemies have found them or whether another pack is responsible. Then he suddenly stops in the middle of a clearing. Something unexpected lies ahead. Broken branches cover the ground. The signs of a recent struggle are everywhere. The young wolf does not hesitate. He launches himself forward like lightning. He races through the forest, leaping over fallen logs as he closes in on Yen and her captor. Quetta finally locates them. Quetta shouts Yen's name and charges forward. Quetta slams into the stranger from behind with tremendous force, forcing him to release the young wolf he was holding. Quetta immediately positions himself over the fallen stranger, ready to continue the fight. But then he looks at the wolf he just rescued. He freezes. The young female stares back at him with beautiful blue eyes. For a moment, neither wolf moves. Quetta is completely confused by what he sees. Then the stranger suddenly recovers. He launches himself at Quetta and grabs the gray-haired wolf in a desperate tackle. Quetta growls and struggles against the hold. With a quick movement, he manages to throw the stranger away. The green-haired animal goes flying before dropping to his knees. Quetta backs away, clutching his face as pain shoots through his body. The green-haired stranger suddenly charges again. But before he can attack, the stranger looks around in confusion and asks where his food went. The young female wolf is already running away. She is carrying a large white goose in her arms. The silver-haired wolf calmly glances back at the two animals before disappearing into the forest. The green-haired animal becomes furious. His meal has just been stolen right in front of him. While he is distracted, Quetta grabs his face and forces him back. The stranger falls onto the ground, completely beaten. The green-haired wolf grabs his head, staring into the forest in disbelief. The silver-haired wolf has stolen his food without even taking a single bite. Then he points angrily toward Quetta. He demands to know who the hell Quetta thinks he is, jumping in and helping that thief. He has been starving for so long that getting some meat was already difficult enough, and now his meal is gone. Quetta ignores the complaint and asks one thing. Did he see Yen? The green-haired wolf immediately becomes annoyed. He has no idea who Yen is and demands to know what kind of crazy wolf Quetta is talking about. Quetta insists that the wolf he is looking for was here. He clearly caught Yen's scent coming from this direction. That makes the green-haired wolf pause. Then he realizes who Quetta means. The girl from earlier. Quetta immediately confirms it. The green-haired wolf explains that she is around his age, perhaps 2 or 3 years older. Quetta becomes excited. Exactly. Then the green-haired wolf remembers another detail. She has light brown bobbed hair that falls slightly past her shoulders. Quetta immediately knows they are talking about the same wolf. His patience disappears. He grabs the green-haired wolf and demands to know where she is. The green-haired wolf finally explains that he saw her earlier. The green-haired animal then explains what actually happened. He had been walking through the forest when he discovered Yen lying unconscious near the lake. The young wolf was completely exhausted after the difficult crossing. He approached Yen to make sure she was still breathing. Then the mysterious silver-haired wolf suddenly appeared. She charged toward him at full speed with an aggressive expression. The green-haired animal immediately backed away and dropped the goose he had been carrying. Thinking the silver-haired wolf was about to attack, he simply ducked down and covered his face. But when he opened his eyes, he realized she had never intended to fight him. She had used the distraction to steal his goose. Then she ran away with his dinner. The green-haired animal immediately understood the trick and chased after her. That was exactly when Quetta arrived. Quetta becomes furious. He grabs the wolf by the collar and demands to know how he could simply leave an unconscious wolf behind. The green-haired wolf is completely confused. He asks what Yen has to do with him. Quetta lets go and looks toward the forest. Yen could not have gotten far, but now he has no idea where to look. The green-haired wolf asks whether Yen is Quetta's mate or something. Quetta immediately says no. That answer makes the green-haired wolf even more confused. If the two wolves are supposedly nothing to each other, then why is Quetta this worried about her? Then Quetta gives him the answer. They survived together. The green-haired wolf's expression changes. They survived together. He looks at Quetta differently now. Then he introduces himself. The green-haired wolf tells Quetta that his name is Jaki. He agrees to help find Yen. But Jaki points out something important. Quetta claims that he and Yen survived together, yet he cannot even track her scent. Jaki tells him to trust his nose. It is the only reason he has managed to stay alive this long. Quetta becomes excited by the idea. The two wolves immediately begin searching. Jaki tells Quetta that they need to hurry before the moonlight washes away the remaining scents from earlier in the day. The two wolves lower their heads and start tracking Yen through the dark forest. They move deeper into the trees, following every trace they can find. But after a while, Jaki suddenly stops. He cannot find Yen's scent anymore. Quetta becomes frustrated. He complains that Jaki has led them in the wrong direction and demands to know what they are supposed to do now. Jaki looks at him and offers a simple answer. If they both want to survive, they cannot leave each other behind again. Quetta considers his words. In the end, he agrees. That may be the only option they have left. Then Jaki suddenly becomes uneasy. He asks if Quetta is seriously thinking about going there. Quetta looks toward the dark forest. Jaki warns him that they are heading toward the territory of a terrifying wolf pack. If they enter that area, the pack will swarm them. Quetta tells him to stop worrying. Whether it is Morocco's territory or another pack's territory, hiding around the forest will only work for so long. They will be chased no matter where they go. But if they stay together, even in a situation this dangerous, they have a much better chance of surviving. Jaki falls silent. Those words hit him harder than expected. Together. For some reason, that word keeps echoing inside his mind. Then snow begins falling around the two wolves. Jaki looks toward the sky and realizes that the weather is becoming colder. Winter is coming. The wolves lift their heads as distant howls begin echoing across the frozen mountains. Those howls eventually reach a dark cave hidden among the snowy rocks. Inside the cave, two mysterious wolves with red markings across their faces listen to the distant calls. The female wolf is Kari. She looks toward her companion and speaks calmly about the strange events unfolding outside. Another pair of intruders has apparently entered the area. This time, it seems to be two male wolves. Kari finds the situation interesting and suspects that the two newcomers may be searching for the female wolf who passed through earlier. Meanwhile, somewhere in the frozen forest, Yen hears the howl of Quetta. Quetta and his new companion Jaki raise their voices in a howl, hoping to get a response. Jaki asks if they should simply wait for an answer. Quetta admits that he has no idea what else they can do. Then a familiar howl cuts through the darkness. Quetta's eyes widen. He recognizes that voice. Both wolves immediately turn toward the sound. The howl echoes through the forest again. It is coming from a lone wolf calling for help. Jaki asks if it could be Yen. Quetta does not hesitate. He takes off at full speed, certain that the voice belongs to her. The gray-haired wolf shouts Yen's name while racing through the trees. Far away, Yen hears him. She immediately calls back, telling Quetta that she is here and begging for help. But her relief lasts only a moment. Yen suddenly stops. A group of unfamiliar wolves is blocking the path ahead. She has run straight into their territory. At the front of the group is Kari, a female wolf with a cruel smile. She quietly hums a disturbing song about an elk being torn apart. Beside her stands Scar, a dangerous wolf whose cold expression shows no sympathy. More wolves from their pack surround Yen from every direction. There is nowhere left to run. One of the wolves mocks her, calmly singing that the pain will be over soon and she will be sleeping forever. The pack slowly closes in. They are enjoying the fear on Yen's face. Scar and Kari give the signal. The wolves tell Yen to close her eyes. They promise that when she wakes up, she will be in the arms of her late mother. Several enormous wolves shift their weight and growl, completely surrounding the frightened female wolf. Meanwhile, Quetta and Jaki continue racing through the forest. They believe they are getting closer to Yen. Then they suddenly stop. They have reached the edge of an enormous cliff. Far below, a rough river cuts through the canyon. Jaki suggests taking a safer path down. Quetta looks at the drop. There is no time. He jumps. Jaki stares in horror before realizing he has no choice but to follow. The green-haired wolf leaps after him. Far above, Yen realizes that she is too exhausted to escape. If she runs now, the pack will catch her anyway. She grits her teeth. If she is going to die here, she refuses to surrender without fighting. Kari laughs at her determination. She mocks Yen, asking if the young wolf seriously believes she can take on the entire pack alone. Kari then warns her that howling so loudly inside their territory was extremely foolish. Yen refuses to back down. She asks who said she was alone. The pack becomes confused. Yen confidently claims that her powerful family is already on its way to rescue her. Inside, however, she is desperately praying that Quetta arrives before the wolves discover the truth. The pack hesitates. They remember hearing the earlier howl. Maybe Yen really is not alone. Scar lowers his head and sniffs the air. Then his expression changes. He recognizes a familiar scent. The scent belongs to a young wolf who has entered their territory. Scar's eyes narrow. He speaks the name Morocco with a mixture of hatred and recognition. Kari immediately understands. If Yen carries the scent of someone from Morocco's pack, then perhaps she is one of them. Yen realizes she can use their misunderstanding. She smiles confidently and pretends they have finally figured out who she is. Then she turns the bluff around. Yen claims that they are actually the ones surrounded. She reminds them that everyone knows Morocco's pack has too many hungry mouths to feed. According to Yen, The prey inside their own territory is no longer enough. That is why they have started invading other territories. She warns the wolves that if they attack her, they will be risking their entire pack. For a moment, the wolves believe her. Scar's eyes widen. He whispers that Yen must be the daughter of Morocco and Tasha. Yen celebrates internally. Her bluff has worked. She demands that they make their decision quickly. But then everything goes wrong. Scar's expression suddenly twists with rage. He shouts that today they will finally avenge his dead son. Yen's confidence disappears. She realizes the terrible mistake she has made. This pack is not afraid of Morocco. They hate him. And now they believe Yen is his daughter. Yen desperately tries to explain herself, but the pack is already moving. She turns and runs. Scar and Kari lead the pursuit, roaring with hatred as they chase the young wolf through the forest. But there is nowhere left to go. Her footing suddenly gives way. She slips over the edge of the cliff. The wolves chasing her stop in shock. Yen screams as she falls toward the raging river far below. She crashes into the water with a massive splash. Then she sees someone in the river. Quetta. She thrashes through the water in panic, but Quetta quickly tells her to calm down and take a breath. Yen finally looks directly at him. Her eyes widen. She cannot believe he is alive. She calls his name in complete shock. Then the fear and relief become too much. Yen wraps her arms around Quetta and hugs him tightly while the two wolves struggle to stay afloat in the freezing river. She quickly warns him that the dangerous Scary Pack is right above them. Quetta agrees. They need to get away immediately. Jaki introduces himself to Yen, but she tells him that introductions can wait. They have more important problems. Jaki remains still for a moment, taking in the situation. Quetta tells him to stop standing around and hurry. Above them, the Scary Pack watches from the cliff. Jaki looks up. He freezes. He can see the enemy wolves watching them from above. But the names Scar and Kari are now burned into the memories of the young wolves. Later, the three wolves sit together on the grass. Jaki finally explains why this region means so much to him. This is where he was born and raised. During the border conflict with Morocco's pack, Jaki's father was severely injured. That was when the wolves hiding in the mountains finally came down. They had apparently been waiting for the perfect opportunity. Those wolves were the Scary Pack. They were led by the cruel Scar and Kari. Jaki remembers Kari humming that disturbing song while covered in blood. The Scary Pack killed his father and scattered the rest of his family. Jaki was left wandering with no direction and no hope. Later, he found his mother's body lying in the forest. His siblings were gone too. He had lost everyone. Jaki remembers collapsing to his knees in the rain beside their bodies, completely broken by grief and loneliness. That tragedy is the reason he returned to this dangerous region. He wants revenge. Yen listens quietly. Then she gives him some blunt advice. She says every wolf around here seems to have a tragic past, but Jaki should value the life he still has instead of throwing it away chasing revenge. A lone wolf challenging an entire pack will only end one way. But Jaki says he is not planning to remain alone. He has another plan. He wants to build his own pack. He wants to find a mate, start a family, have children, claim his own territory, and slowly grow stronger. Then, when the right moment finally arrives, he will take his revenge. Yen admits that the plan is actually smart. She even jokes that at least Jaki is not as reckless as a certain wolf sitting nearby. Jaki then looks toward the approaching winter. If he wants to start a family, he needs to find a mate soon. Then he gives a smooth smile. A very beautiful female wolf is already standing right beside them. Silence. The three wolves stare at each other. Yen tilts her head, clearly confused by where Jaki is going with this. Quetta stares at Jaki through clenched teeth. He knows exactly what the green-haired wolf is doing. Jaki is flirting with Yen. The female wolf's cheeks turn slightly red, and she awkwardly looks away. But Jaki continues. He asks whether it is true that Quetta and Yen have no romantic relationship. He wants everything to be clear before he makes his move. Then he asks the question directly. Does Quetta plan on marrying Yen? Quetta goes completely silent. He simply stares at Jaki. Yen's beautiful blue eyes widen as she anxiously waits for Quetta's answer. Finally, the gray-haired wolf opens his mouth. It looks like he is about to reveal something important. Quetta finally gives his answer. He admits that honestly, he has never seriously thought about marriage. Yen's expression immediately drops. The disappointment on the young wolf's face is impossible to miss. Jaki, however, is delighted. The green-haired wolf says he hopes things stay that way because he would hate having to compete with Quetta for Yen's affection. But then Jaki's smile fades. He looks at Quetta with a puzzled expression and asks something much more direct. Did Quetta happen to fall for that silver-haired thief? Quetta immediately blushes and tries to dismiss the idea. He barely remembers the silver-haired wolf because he was exhausted when they encountered her. Yen becomes curious. She asks who Quetta met. Quetta explains that while searching for Yen near the lake, he followed another scent and encountered a mysterious female wolf. The silver-haired wolf had tried to fight him. She had also stolen Jaki's goose, which was the reason Jaki became so furious. Yen's expression changes. She gives Quetta a sharp, jealous look and sarcastically points out that he apparently had time to follow another female wolf while searching for her. Quetta quickly tries to explain. He had heard fighting nearby while searching for Yen and thought she was the one in danger. Yen narrows her blue eyes. Then she asks the question Quetta clearly did not want to hear. Was the thief wolf pretty? Jaki awkwardly looks away. Then, without thinking, he admits that the silver-haired wolf was actually quite attractive. He starts describing her elegant and mature appearance. Before Jaki can finish complimenting her, Yen loses her patience. She punches him directly in the face. Quetta holds his sore cheek, completely confused about what just happened. Jaki is equally confused. He asks why Yen hit him. Yen coldly replies that she is starving. She gets back on her feet and tells them to forget about marriage for now. If they keep standing around talking, all three wolves are going to collapse from hunger. The group decides to move. Jaki takes the lead, promising to guide them toward fresh meat. As they travel, he explains that this area is a border zone. Because it sits between rival territories, the different wolf packs usually avoid coming here. Jaki has already been watching a large target in the area. The only problem is that he was never strong enough to hunt it alone. Quetta immediately becomes interested. He assumes the target must be a massive elk. Jaki calmly tells him that it is something even bigger. Quetta and Yen exchange surprised looks. Whatever Jaki has been watching, it is apparently far more impressive than an ordinary elk. The wolves soon discover exactly what he means. A small bird sits comfortably on top of an enormous set of antlers. Below it stands a gigantic moose. The massive animal is heavily built and peacefully grazing in the clearing. Quetta and Yen stare from the bushes. Yen quietly admits that even the pack that opposes Morocco would probably struggle to bring down something that large. But Jaki quickly points out that the enormous adult moose is not their actual target. He directs their attention somewhere else. A smaller moose calf is nearby. Jaki explains that hunting the mother is practically impossible. But the calf is another story. If the three wolves work together, they might actually have a chance. Jaki assumes that everyone here already has some hunting experience and emphasizes that teamwork will be the key. His plan is simple. Quetta and Yen will act as bait. They will draw the mother's attention away from the calf. Then Jaki will finish the hunt. Jaki stands confidently, clearly enjoying the opportunity to show Yen what he can do. But Quetta and Yen immediately disagree. They suggest that Jaki should be the bait while Quetta handles the easier part. Jaki is annoyed. He wants to prove himself to Yen and show her the strength of a true alpha male. He orders the two wolves to stop arguing and follow his plan if they want to eat. Quetta and Yen reluctantly agree. The two wolves leap from the bushes. The mother moose immediately notices them. Up close, the mother moose looks even more enormous. Quetta realizes that he completely underestimated their target. He and Yen sprint through the forest, desperately trying to stay ahead of the charging mother. Quetta glances backward. The enormous animal is right behind them. Yen screams in panic. Quetta shouts for Jaki to attack the calf while they keep the mother distracted. The young moose calf runs away from the chaos, suddenly exposed in the clearing. Jaki sees his opportunity. He launches himself onto the calf's neck. For a moment, the green-haired wolf celebrates. He finally has it. But the calf is much stronger than expected. It violently thrashes from side to side. Jaki is thrown around like he weighs nothing. Now it is angry. The young moose turns and charges after Jaki. Jaki runs for his life, shouting for Quetta and Yen to figure out what they are supposed to do. His face is scratched, his breathing is heavy, and his pride as an alpha male is taking a serious beating. From a distance, Quetta and Yen watch the disaster unfold. Yen immediately points out that Jaki's brilliant plan is clearly not working. Quetta decides there is no time to argue. He takes command and tells everyone to attack the angry moose together. The three wolves charge. The response is immediate. The moose kicks with tremendous force. Quetta and Yen are sent flying. Jaki tries to attack as well, but he receives the worst punishment of all. The young moose catches him with another powerful strike and sends the green-haired wolf tumbling away. The three wolves finally realize the truth. They are completely outmatched. Their hunt has turned into a disaster. With their tails between their legs, Quetta, Yen, and Jaki retreat from the clearing. They shout promises that they will come back one day. The victorious mother moose remains in the clearing. Beside her, the frightened calf watches the defeated wolves disappear into the forest before moving closer to its mother for safety. A short while later, Quetta and Jaki sit together, exhausted but somehow excited. The two wolves raise their paws and celebrate with a high five. They claim they were almost successful. Jaki insists that all they need is a small tactical adjustment. Yen looks at the two of them with disbelief. She is starving, yet somehow these two wolves still have enough energy to celebrate their complete failure. Jaki tells her to hold on a little longer. He promises that he will find something for them to eat. Then a brown rabbit suddenly races past them. The three wolves freeze. Food. Without thinking twice, they take off after it. The rabbit races through the clearing. Yen dives forward, trying to catch it. She misses by inches and crashes onto the ground. Quetta and Jaki leap together, both reaching for the rabbit. But the little animal makes a sudden jump. The rabbit escapes. Quetta and Jaki slam their heads together and crash onto the ground. They slowly look up. Their expressions freeze. The silver-haired thief is standing nearby, and she is holding the rabbit. Jaki immediately recognizes her. He points angrily at the silver-haired wolf, furious that the thief who stole his goose has appeared again. The silver-haired wolf simply smiles and thanks them. Apparently, catching the rabbit was easy thanks to all the trouble they caused. Jaki becomes furious. He demands to know whether she has already finished eating the entire goose she stole from him earlier. As Jaki angrily explains what happened, something suddenly flashes past him. Yen. The female wolf charges toward the silver-haired thief without warning. She lands a powerful hit. Everyone freezes in surprise. The two female wolves immediately roll across the grass, fighting over the rabbit. Quetta watches with his jaw hanging open. Yen moves with surprising speed and fury. She finally manages to pin the silver-haired thief to the ground. The brown-haired wolf holds her down by the neck and glares directly into her eyes. Then Yen angrily demands to know who she thinks she is, stealing food from them. The silver-haired wolf remains pinned beneath Yen, but she is not intimidated. Instead, she provokes the brown-haired wolf and asks why the rabbit should belong to her when she was the one who spotted it first. Yen immediately snaps back. She insists that she marked a prey first and warns the silver-haired wolf that she will regret touching it. But the silver-haired wolf quickly turns the tables. She grabs Yen by the throat and forces her against the ground. She tells Yen to shut up, complaining that the brown-haired wolf never stops talking like a songbird. Then the silver-haired wolf challenges her. If Yen wants the rabbit so badly, she should try taking it back by force. Jaki immediately accepts the challenge. The green-haired wolf charges forward and kicks the silver-haired wolf away from Yen. He warns her that a rabbit is nowhere near enough to repay the debt for the goose she stole from him. This time, he intends to teach her a lesson. The silver-haired wolf slowly gets back on her feet. Her teeth are clenched. A quiet rage fills her expression as she stares at the two wolves. Before the fight can begin, Quetta steps between them. He spreads his arms and tells everyone to stop. With a calm but slightly awkward expression, the gray-haired wolf asks them to stop fighting among themselves. Yen is furious. She demands to know why Quetta is defending the thief. Quetta insists that there is no reason for them to keep fighting. Yen continues complaining about his attitude. Jaki places a paw on her shoulder and tells her to wait. Then he points toward the silver-haired wolf. He calls her a thief in front of everyone. But surprisingly, Jaki's tone changes. He asks the silver-haired wolf if she wants to join them and hunt together. Yen stares at him in disbelief. Jaki explains that hunting with 4 wolves would allow them to function as a proper pack. But inside his head, Jaki has another reason. He is already imagining Quetta pairing up with the silver-haired wolf so that Yen will be available for him. The silver-haired wolf immediately rejects the offer. She asks why she would hunt with strangers. Then she mocks the 3 wolves, saying she has no interest in traveling with fools who cannot even catch a rabbit. She turns around and walks away. Yen angrily tells her to disappear like dust. Jaki watches the silver-haired wolf leave, clearly disappointed. Then he suddenly starts talking loudly about fresh moose meat. The silver-haired wolf stops walking. Jaki continues describing the incredible taste of a freshly hunted moose. He talks about its rich scent and the warm, fresh meat. He describes sinking his teeth into the prey and tearing through the tender flesh. Yen listens with wide eyes. She begins imagining the feast herself. Quetta also pays close attention. After days of hunger, he remembers how satisfying a fresh catch can be. The silver-haired wolf stands completely still, hypnotized by Jaki's description. Jaki finishes by saying that the taste of fresh moose cannot compare to something as small as a rabbit or goose. The silver-haired wolf sighs. She dreams of tasting that incredible flavor one more time before her life ends. Then she turns around. With her arms crossed, she says that perhaps she can join them just this once. Yen stares at her in disbelief. Quetta and Jaki immediately celebrate. Yen protests, annoyed that everything seems to be going the silver-haired wolf's way. The silver-haired wolf finally introduces herself. Her name is Celli. Quetta and Jaki introduce themselves to their new companion. Yen remains with her arms crossed, clearly unhappy about the new alliance. She clicks her tongue impatiently. The group returns to the hunt. But their first attempt goes terribly wrong. The gray-haired wolf is sent crashing to the ground. The enormous animal then tramples him as it runs away. Quetta groans in pain while lying in the grass. Once again, their hunt has failed. Celli watches the 3 wolves with disappointment. She asks whether they have actually hunted before. Jaki is offended. He insists that they have. He reminds Celli that he was born in this region. Quetta proudly mentions that he once nearly caught the king of the elk. Celli tells them both to stop talking. From what she has seen, none of them understands even the basics of hunting. She explains that they are wolves. They are not supposed to run around recklessly like predators that simply chase anything in front of them. A wolf must wear down its prey first. Then, when the prey is exhausted, the wolves strike. Celli points directly at Quetta. She asks why he always runs ahead and wastes his energy. Instead, he needs to wait patiently for an opening. When the right moment appears, he should deliver the decisive attack. That is what a leader should do. Quetta silently repeats the word leader in his mind. The 4 wolves begin another coordinated hunt. This time, they move together. They run side by side through the forest under Celli's direction. Their howls surround the moose from different sides, keeping constant pressure on the massive animal. Celli continues giving orders. She looks back at Quetta and warns him not to get ahead of himself. He needs to stay focused on the strategy. The chase continues throughout the afternoon. The sun slowly sinks toward the horizon. Still, the wolves do not stop. Time passes. Under the starry night sky, they finally understand Celli's method. The goal is not to overpower the prey immediately. They simply have to keep chasing. No rest, no escape. No opportunity for the moose to recover. Celli explains that cooperation is the key. If the wolves continue forcing the prey to run, its strength will eventually disappear. Then, when the perfect opening finally appears, that is when they deliver the final blow. Fresh meat is theirs. Quetta and Celli immediately begin eating the fresh moose meat in the snow. The others eat with great satisfaction. Yen, however, watches Celli with an unfriendly expression. Eventually, Yen shoves Celli aside and demands some space. She wants to taste the prized organs too. Quetta calmly advises Yen to try some liver. He assures her that it tastes incredible. Yen takes his advice and begins eating beside him. Her cheeks become slightly red from shyness. Celli notices the 2 wolves together. She gives Yen a playful smirk. Yen immediately becomes annoyed. She cannot stand the teasing. The brown-haired wolf suddenly leaps onto Celli again. The two female wolves begin fighting in the snow. Quetta watches them with little patience. He simply tells them to stop fighting already. Then the atmosphere suddenly changes. A sinister voice echoes through the snowy forest. The voice threatens to rip their throats out. Celli and Yen immediately stop fighting. They know that voice. Scar and Kari have arrived. The two enemy wolves hum the same dark and violent song they used before. Their voices echo through the frozen forest. Behind them, the rest of the scary pack marches through the snow. Yen and Celli look ahead in panic. The entire enemy pack is coming for them. Jaki immediately recognizes the danger. The scary pack is determined to destroy all four intruders. Scar spreads his arms and gives the order. The entire pack charges down the snowy slope. Dozens of wolves rush toward the four young wolves. Jaki shouts for everyone to run before it is too late. The group begins retreating. But Quetta suddenly looks back at the moose carcass. He asks, what will happen to all that meat? Yen is furious. She tells him to forget about the food. What exactly does he think four wolves can do against an entire pack? Quetta refuses to run. He suggests that they fight. After all, they are four warriors too. Yen tries to reason with him. They can always hunt again. But if they die in battle, there will be no second chance. She urges everyone to keep moving. Then Jaki surprises them. He changes his mind. If Quetta is going to fight, Jaki says he will not run while enemies are standing directly in front of him. His yellow eyes begin glowing with fury. Yen realizes that Jaki has gone crazy too. Celli silently steps forward. She is ready to fight. The three wolves stand together. Celli looks at them and asks whether they actually know what they are doing. Yen glares at them with an irritated expression. She realizes she has been outvoted. With a frustrated sigh, she accepts the situation and joins them. The four young wolves prepare for battle. The scary pack charges down the snowy slope. Both sides rush toward each other. A wolf leaps through the air, aiming directly for Quetta. The enemy wolf laughs and declares that he will start by taking down the biggest opponent first. But enemy is caught completely off guard. Quetta's fist slams directly into his chin. Quetta follows through and drives the enemy wolf into the frozen ground. Wolf's head crashes hard against the snow. The rest of the scary pack stare in complete shock. Their own has been taken down in an instant. Enemy wolf struggles beneath Quetta. The gray-haired wolf presses a firm paw against his nose and keeps him pinned. Taking advantage of the opening, Jaki charges forward at full speed, shouting his own name as he attacks the enemy. The green-haired wolf leaps onto Kari and grabs her by the neck. He finally has the chance to avenge his entire family. Even while pinned beneath him, Kari only smiles sarcastically at the mention of revenge. Jaki's eyes burn with hatred. He asks if she has forgotten the family her pack destroyed. Kari looks directly into his eyes. Then she mockingly asks if he is the one who forgot. She reminds him of exactly what happened that day. The scary pack cut down every member of his family without mercy, treating them like pieces of meat. Jaki freezes. The memories return all at once. He grinds his teeth as the pain of that day overwhelms him. Kari continues twisting the knife. She reminds him that he was the coward who ran away when his family was being slaughtered. The emotional shock gives Scar an opening. The Scary leader recovers and charges toward Jaki. Before the green-haired wolf can react, Scar bites deeply into his neck. Jaki releases an agonized howl. He drops to his knees in the snow, blood pouring from the wound. Jaki desperately tries to stop the bleeding. Scar looks down at him and coldly asks if he remembers that pain. Jaki stares at his blood-covered paws. His body begins trembling. The sight pulls him straight back into his worst memory. He stumbles backward, begging Scar not to come any closer. Scar watches without pity. The Scary leader can see that Jaki is no longer fighting the present. He is trapped inside the trauma of his past. Kari stands nearby with an evil smile, casually humming her disturbing song about crows. Inside Jaki's mind, the forest disappears. He finds himself walking through what looks like an endless sea of red blood. His eyes widen with terror. The memories of his mother's body return. Jaki becomes convinced that the scary pack is about to finish him just as they finished his family. Fear completely takes control. The green-haired wolf turns around and runs. He flees from the battle under the contemptuous gaze of Scar and Kari. Quetta sees him running away. He shouts after Jaki, demanding to know where he thinks he is going. Yen also calls Jaki's name, but Kylie immediately realizes there is no time to worry about his escape. She tells Quetta to stay focused on the fight. Kari lets out a twisted laugh. Scar orders the rest of the pack to charge and eliminate every remaining intruder. Quetta, Yen, and Celli are now fighting the entire pack without Jaki. Quetta grits his teeth. The situation has become even worse. Meanwhile, Jaki continues running through the snow. Blood is still flowing from his neck. Then he hears something. Yen screams. Jaki suddenly stops. His eyes widen. While he is running away, his new companions are risking their lives against the same wolves he escaped from. A painful memory returns. Jaki remembers the day his family was attacked. He remembers being young and terrified by the scary pack's cruelty. He remembers being the first one to run. Then he sees Kari standing over his father's lifeless body. His father was dying. Yet even in his final moments, he still had enough strength to look toward his son. He softly called Jaki's name. Then, despite everything around him, his father gave him one final command: stay alive. Jaki finally understands. He survived because his father sacrificed himself for him. That life cannot be wasted. The green-haired wolf grinds his teeth. He is no longer that frightened child. He refuses to run away again. Back at the battlefield, Quetta continues fighting with everything he has. Scar's leader is sent flying through the snow. Scar quickly recovers. He glares at Quetta with murderous hatred and charges back toward him. But Quetta is faster. The young wolf leaps onto Scar again. Their strength matches almost perfectly. Then Kari rushes in from the side. She tries to stop Quetta from overpowering her partner. Even while holding Scar down, Quetta manages to twist around and deliver a powerful spinning kick. The kick sends Kari rolling across the snow. Scar growls angrily and tightens his grip on Quetta. He demands to know where the young wolf thinks he is going. Scar grabs him and shakes him violently. But Quetta still has some strength left. With one final burst of power, he roars and executes a powerful overhead throw. Scar is lifted off the ground. Quetta hurls the much larger wolf backward. Jaki watches from a distance. He is stunned by what he is seeing. Quetta is fighting Scar head-on, and he is actually holding his own. The sight gives Jaki courage. His friend is still fighting. So Jaki decides that he has to fight too. Elsewhere, Yen is pinned against the ground by one of the scary wolves. The enemy wolf grips her tightly and prepares to bite. Yen desperately screams for help. Then a familiar voice echoes through the clearing. Jaki has returned. The green-haired wolf charges in like a missile. He tackles Yen's attacker and sends the enemy wolf flying. Quetta looks over when he hears the commotion. He realizes that Jaki has finally returned to the fight. Nearby, Celli continues holding her ground. The silver-haired wolf fights through the enemy horde with a cold, focused expression. Jaki quickly helps Yen back onto her feet. Then he tells all of his new companions to follow him. He takes the lead and starts running. Jaki tells them he has a tactical plan that can get all of them out alive. Scar sees the movement. The Scary leader roars at his pack and orders them to chase the fleeing wolves. He charges down the snowy slope, promising to take all their heads. Quetta runs at full speed, but he soon realizes that the enemy pack is closing the distance far too quickly. Jaki tells him to hold on a little longer. The location for his plan is just ahead. The group suddenly enters a massive, narrow canyon surrounded by towering stone walls. Yen immediately panics. She asks if Jaki has completely lost his mind. If the scary pack corners them inside this narrow passage, there will be nowhere to escape. Jaki suddenly stops. He looks around the canyon, then his expression becomes serious. This is exactly where he wanted to bring them. The narrow canyon is perfect for defense. Jaki stands his ground and challenges Scar to come forward. Scar immediately responds with rage. He swears that he will tear Jaki's throat out. His roar echoes through the narrow canyon. Scar charges. He throws a powerful punch at Jaki, but Jaki ducks underneath it at the last possible moment. The green-haired wolf runs straight past the scary leader. Scar is left confused for a moment. Then another member of the pack takes over the pursuit. A brutal punch strikes Jaki directly in the face. The green-haired wolf crashes onto the ground. The enemy wolf pins him down and threatens to gouge out his eyes and feed them to maggots. Even while being choked, Jaki refuses to panic. He uses the strength in his lungs to shout two names: Yen, Celli. The signal is clear. Yen and Celli immediately move into position. They block the narrow passage, preventing the rest of the Skari pack from getting through. Kari charges towards Celli. The two female wolves collide. Kari mockingly asks if Celli has decided to die together with her friends. She says she has no problem with that. Nearby, the enemy wolf continues taunting Jaki. He reminds the green-haired wolf that he could not even protect his own father. But Jaki's expression remains calm. He tells the enemy wolf that this is exactly why the plan will work. Jaki remembers what happened when his family was attacked. His family fought bravely, but the moment their leader fell, the entire pack lost its fighting spirit. A pack without its leader begins to collapse. That is the weakness Jaki intends to exploit. His plan is simple: separate Scar from the rest of his pack. Yin and Celli will block the canyon and prevent the other wolves from interfering. That leaves Quetta alone with Scar. Now the two strongest wolves can settle the fight one-on-one. Inside the isolated section of the canyon, Quetta grips Scar firmly. The long-awaited confrontation is finally taking shape. Jaki shouts from the middle of the fight, asking whether Quetta can really defeat the Skari leader alone. He warns that Yen and Celli will not be able to hold back the entire pack forever. Quetta needs to defeat Scar quickly. Scar only smiles arrogantly. The idea of losing to a young wolf seems ridiculous to him. He bares his sharp fangs. Quetta responds with confidence. He asks why he would not be able to defeat Scar. The two wolves charge at each other again. Their bodies collide with tremendous force as the battle continues inside the narrow canyon. Quetta's fighting spirit burns stronger than ever. The young wolf introduces himself with absolute confidence. His name is Quetta, and he claims that he is the strongest wolf in the entire region. Scar is caught off guard by Quetta's bold declaration. The young wolf's confidence reminds him of someone from his past. Scar seriously notes that Quetta talks just like Morocco. The memory immediately takes him back to the day Morocco defeated him. Back then, Morocco had mocked Scar's weakness with the same kind of confidence. Quetta casually agrees that Morocco is indeed strong. In fact, he openly admits that Morocco is much stronger than Scar. That comparison pushes Scar over the edge. Blinded by rage, Scar tells Quetta to shut up and punches him directly in the face. He grabs Quetta again and shakes him furiously, swearing that he will tear the young wolf apart for daring to speak to him like that. Even while being shaken, Quetta only gives him a slight smile. He calmly asks why Scar is so angry. Jaki immediately understands what is happening. He sarcastically points out that Scar must have been defeated by Morocco in the past. Scar's expression darkens. He asks if Quetta seriously believes that raw strength alone will be enough to defeat him. Scar tightens his grip. He arrogantly declares that even Morocco, despite his enormous strength, cannot surpass him in pure physical power. Then he presses Quetta closer and mocks him. Is that all the strength the young wolf has? Scar becomes furious and roars that he will wipe out every last one of them right there. But suddenly, Scar stops. His eyes widen. Something feels wrong. He realizes that Quetta is pushing back against him, and he is doing it with surprising ease. Scar's confidence begins to crack. For the first time, he wonders if he is actually losing the contest of strength. Quetta calls him a fool and tells him to bring out everything he has. Scar refuses to accept what is happening. If physical strength cannot settle this, then he will rely on something else: his jaws. Scar challenges Quetta to settle the fight with their teeth. Before Scar can react, Quetta lunges forward and bites into his shoulder. Scar cries out and staggers backward through the narrow canyon. Kari and the rest of the Skari pack stare in complete shock. They have never seen Quetta fight like this. Scar clutches his injured shoulder and stumbles backward, blood staining his fur. Quetta returns to his normal form. He spits Scar's blood onto the frozen ground and stands confidently. The Skari wolves cannot believe what they are seeing. Their leader has been defeated. Jaki immediately realizes that the plan worked. He smiles and praises Quetta from a distance, telling him that taking down Scar was the hardest part of their entire strategy. Then Jaki turns toward the surviving members of the Skari pack. He declares that their leader has fallen. The Skari pack is finished, but one of Scar's wolves refuses to accept defeat. The red-clad wolf suddenly kicks Jaki and sends him crashing back to the ground. Then he ignores Jaki and charges straight toward Quetta. He demands that the gray-haired wolf fight him directly. Quetta responds immediately. Then he strikes the red wolf directly in the neck. The enemy wolf lets out a pained whimper and stumbles backward. Seeing both of their strongest fighters defeated, Carrie makes the decision. She orders the entire Skari pack to retreat. The enemy wolves quickly withdraw through the frozen canyon. The battle is over. Quetta, Yen, Jaki, and Celli have won. Yen and Jaki celebrate. They cannot believe they survived the battle and actually defeated the Skari pack. Yen rushes toward Quetta and hugs him tightly. She praises his incredible strength and courage. Quetta then gives Jaki credit for the strategy. Yen agrees. She tells Jaki that he fought well too. A short distance away, Celli finally relaxes. She sighs in relief and wipes the sweat from her forehead while watching the others celebrate. The three wolves continue talking and laughing about everything they just survived. For Quetta, the moment feels different. He wears a genuine, peaceful smile. He is happy that he managed to protect his new companions. Celli watches him quietly. A gentle smile appears on her face. There is clear admiration in her eyes as she looks at Quetta's bravery. Quetta notices her and walks over. He asks if she is all right. Celli calmly assures him that she is fine. She places a paw gently on his shoulder. Then she asks whether Scar injured his neck during their brutal exchange. Quetta smiles and tells her that he is doing perfectly fine. After this fight, the other packs will probably think twice before challenging them. Celli looks away slightly. Then she admits that Quetta looked incredibly cool during the battle. The two exchange a quiet smile. But behind them, Yen watches the entire scene. Her expression becomes one of pure jealousy. She quickly interrupts the moment and reminds everyone about something far more important: the moose. If they do not hurry back, they could lose the entire feast. The group immediately heads toward the carcass. But they are not the only ones interested in the abandoned meal. Far away, hungry crows circle above the valley. Two enormous wild eagles soon land near the moose carcass. The birds immediately begin fighting over the fresh meat. Then another pair of unfamiliar hyenas arrives. The two strangers freeze when they see the enormous carcass. They are thrilled. The meat is still fresh. They wonder why the wolves who caught it would simply leave it behind. The male hyena prepares to eat and gives thanks for the unexpected meal. But a fierce growl suddenly stops him. Quetta and the others are coming. The four wolves race across the snowy landscape. Quetta shouts that the moose belongs to their group. The unfamiliar pair panics when they see the furious wolves charging toward them. The female hyena tells her companion to run. But before escaping, she quickly grabs a piece of meat. Her companion stares at her in disbelief. He cannot understand why she would risk her life for a single bite. The female hyena happily eats the meat while running. She explains that she at least wants to taste some fresh food before hunger makes her collapse. Suddenly, one of the enormous eagles swoops down. The bird snatches the piece of meat directly from her paws. The female hyena stares in disbelief as the eagle flies away with her food. The two strangers can only watch. They angrily shout at the eagle for stealing their meal. With nothing left to eat, the pair runs away across the snowy landscape before Quetta and the others can catch them. Finally, the four young wolves gather around their moose carcass. They look at each other with satisfaction. After everything they have been through, they finally have their feast. Yen happily declares that they were incredible today. For once, they truly looked like wild, dangerous wolves. Quetta agrees. Then he suggests something. Even if they eventually go their separate ways, they should never fight each other. Jaki agrees with the idea. He says they should never turn on one another. Although, he adds that it might be better if they simply never run into each other again. Quetta gives a playful wink. He proposes one more agreement. There should never be conflict between the members of their pack. Yen stares directly at Quetta. She asks if getting married means they would truly become a family and stay together forever. She asks whether Quetta is secretly suggesting that he wants to take her as his mate. Jaki and Celli freeze. Neither of them expected that answer. Quetta looks confused. Celli steps into the conversation. She explains that marriage would mean having pups and hunting together for the rest of their lives. Then she looks directly at Yen. For that kind of life to work, both wolves have to genuinely want to become partners. She turns towards Celli with an irritated, almost frightening smile. Then she asks whether Celli is saying that she should be Quetta's wife.